It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, the interwebs first and still only podcast. My name is Jared.
Hey, everybody. My name is Matt.
And, well, you know, it's a tough thing, these schedules in the 25th century.
It always changes. It's not consistent.
It does. And, you know, the three of us have only been together for 2 episodes so far of season 7.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, we are spread thin. But I mean, you know what? It's hard to kind of describe, but I guess the closest thing to it would be Mike's at jury duty in a sense up here.
Yeah, you know, of course they did abolish all lawyers long ago.
Yeah.
And the whole court tribunal system is a lot different. It's sort of like Logan's Run.
Yeah, very much so.
If you can picture that. So he's off there looking over, I guess, renewals, as they call them.
Making sure that the people that are renewing are the right age.
Yes.
Not trying to pre-renew.
That's true. And the fact that Mike is 50 years old, his renewal expiration date is long gone, but
I mean,
somehow he gets away with it.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, look, if we had all been born here, we would have all had our palm implant put in. But
yes,
since we're not from here, he's been doing that 7-Eleven stick-on thing.
Yes.
And it ran out of the battery the other day, and I think that's what he's worried about. So
okay, well, that's, you know, Mike's off doing that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep giving you shows, you know, so don't worry about that. We've got all kinds of things coming up.
Yeah.
But
But
tonight, you know, Matt, you know, before we get started, I would like to say that I have almost finished Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
oh god, it's a multiple sitting to get through it.
Well, it's just a time thing,
Okay.
but I am enjoying it quite a lot.
How far have you gotten? I'm just curious.
I got to the part where Chris Pine's playing his lute and he starts melting. Like his face gets all distorted.
Bray. That's such a funny scene.
Yes. And I'm watching it pretty much solely based on your recommendation.
Right.
Because I did not have much interest, but you were persistent and it was on Paramount Plus, and I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. And it's been quite funny so far.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's not like look, in that kind of material, they could have taken that movie 1,000 different directions. So I mean, I like the tongue-in-cheek kind of fun bit about it, but I mean, it's still, look, I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons growing up. It just wasn't something I did.
Yeah.
I was always kind of curious about it, but I never played it. But from what I hear, it's pretty true to the source material, and there's a lot of Easter eggs. If you're into that game, Dungeons and Dragons, you're getting a lot out of the movie. So I mean,
yeah,
good on it. But I'm just enjoying it just as a funny movie. So
yeah, but it works as just kind of a funny adventure film. You don't have to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So yeah, I've been enjoying it quite a lot. I think
I'll tell you, it finishes pretty strong. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had to let you know that because you've been after me for some time. So I'm almost done. I'll probably finish watching it tonight. So
awesome. I can't wait to hear.
Well, something else that we're going to be doing tonight is a segment that has been long absent from the hyperspace. It's a segment we call News from the Interwebs.
News from the Interwebs.
Okay.
Big news.
So-
Big news.
So this is somewhat current. Of course, we are going to be releasing this episode in the early summer of the year 2023, as it is measured in the old calendar.
Yes.
And a couple of things have popped up recently that we thought warranted some discussion, a current events discussion on the podcast, as it were. A little less than a month ago, it was revealed that Disney was closing down the Galactic Starcruiser, the ultra expensive Disney Star Wars hotel, will be taking its last guests in September of 2023. And I gotta say, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think it's unfair at the same time that, Disney, when they acquired the Star Wars property, I was very optimistic because I figured if any company could take on Star Wars and move it forward, it was going to be Disney. It just made sense. It gave you all those kinds of opportunities and possibilities of being involved at a theme park level with Star Wars that, we never had access to. So I was really hopeful. And you know what? It's been a real, hit and miss game with these guys. And when they announced the Star Wars hotel was coming, I was skeptical from the start. And I'll tell you why. One, Disney hotels are notoriously expensive anyway.
Yes.
But I had no idea the format that they were going to present this hotel to their customers and their clients as. And when I heard that it was a 2-day encapsulated voyage kind of thing, like a cruise,
Mhm.
I honestly was super disappointed. And because the price tag that went along with it was astronomical. It was really geared to people like us who have been fans our whole life and now have some liquid income and some money that we can spend. And I feel that they're really leaning hard onto those fans, hoping that they're going to spend their money for this experience. And I think Lindsay and you on one of our podcasts not long ago really nailed it. And they went all in on their current IP property instead of the stuff that their fans that have this kind of liquid income are willing to spend want to see.
100%. I don't think, anyone was excited about spending $6,000 to watch a Kylo Ren and Rey dinner show,
No kidding.
which is an oversimplification of the experience, of course. But they doubled down on the sequel trilogy, which was a mistake. I'm not sure why they felt the need to make it this role-playing experience, which, once all the mega fans and all the online influencers and the families who just could not wait to spend the money and do this thing, once those people have done it, what normal family of 4 who visits Walt Disney World is going to be lining up to pay thousands of dollars to be in a windowless box for 2 days, with one excursion to the Galaxy's Edge theme park? And I think what happened is what was always going to happen. It lasted a little over a year, and now it's ending.
I think you're right on the money. And I'll say this, for the past 2 years, we've done Disney vacations where we stayed at the Contemporary Hotel both times. And we're looking to spend a third vacation there in January at the Contemporary again, because we like that hotel. We like everything about the proximity to the park. We like the things it offers. It's not cheap, but compared to the Galactic Cruiser, it's, it's nothing.
Yeah,
but
it's
but
crazy.
here we are looking to do our third vacation as a family at the same hotel. Now, if I had, and it's not cheap, Disney is not cheap. And to spend a couple days at Disney in a hotel at Disney, it's very expensive. And it's something you save up for a big part of your year saving for this trip. Now, if I went on the Galactic Starcruiser once, I'm not going back to spend that same money twice. So,
Correct.
but I am going back to spend my money twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times at another hotel on the Disney property. So if you're banking on people not coming back and you're saying we're going to have enough traffic where a family or an individual or a couple will come once and it will sustain this, they grossly overestimated their fan base. And the thing is, I think the fact that they went all in on the new property, the Kylo Ren, New Republic era, is that I think that they were unwilling to get out of the groupthink in their own boardroom, that what they made was less popular than the original trilogy. And they were hoping that the kids that watched this would convince their parents that this is where they had to go to be a part of it. And as we've all seen, the new Star Wars movies have not nearly been as popular as the old ones, and they're not getting the young reception that Disney had hoped for. So for them to go all in on the new era, on the Galactic Starcruiser and in Galaxy's Edge, they really put themselves in a pickle here. And as a result, of course, the hotel is now closing. Now, is it going to close and not have guests? Probably not. They'll probably reformat it and make it into some kind of hotel, I would imagine.
It's hard to say. I think maybe I was talking to you and Brian about this, but the infrastructure of the hotel itself is, because it looks like from the outside, it looks like a prison.
Yeah. Because
there's no windows. It's this, in conveying the illusion that you were on aboard a starship, everything with the outside world is cut off. And apparently that they were very successful at doing that. I mean, all the rooms had view screens, which were plasma screens that made it appear that you were in space and stuff like that. But it's such an odd building. It's such a strange piece of architecture. I've heard some people say that it's not. They may just make it
like a day trip kind of thing,
or no, even forgetting that, just make it into office space. Which, because of its
that'd be kind of a cool office, though. I mean,
if you'd walk in there and you'd be like, "Hey, man, this looks kind of like a spaceship."
Well, the funny thing is that most cubicles are cheap as hell anyway, and every room in this place, for the money that you're spending, you weren't getting the luxury in these rooms in the experience. Apparently the rooms were quite low end.
Well, they were smaller. Anybody who's been on a cruise, the rooms, unless you're paying out the nose, the rooms are not large.
Right.
I think these rooms were somewhere in the order of maybe 300 square feet.
But the funny thing about that is that for the price you're paying to stay at that hotel versus what that same price going towards a cruise would get you, is you would get a great room on a cruise ship, and you're getting a pretty dumpy room in this Galactic Starcruiser.
For $6,000, you could spend a couple of weeks in Europe if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
instead of 2 days in a locked box.
2 days in Orlando, Florida,
with Kylo Ren, and chicken nuggets.
Yes.
So,
Now, but I've watched reviews, I've listened to reviews on some shows,
mhm.
and most everyone who participated in this, they said it was a lot of fun. They said if you were if you were down to play the game, then you would have a good time.
Mhm.
And this includes people who are our age. Um, but the problem is the the price, the point of entry there was just too much for most people to pay. Now, if someone's going to comp me a visit, I would have gone in a heartbeat, of
Right, of
course,
course, yeah.
to experience it. But I understood that, maybe in the past month or so, attendance was so low, they were having to, close bookings to, group people together so there were enough people in the Star Cruiser to actually make the mechanics of the story work.
I mean, listen, if I wanted to spend $6,000 on a 2-day escape room, I'd just go into New York and wander around. But I mean, it's like, it's just not worth it. And it's been proven that it's not worth it. And it was a grand dream, which sounded like it was at the end of the funnel of this entire reboot plan, that their reboot had to work and be successful with the new movies for this to be successful. And as we're now seeing, even in Galaxy's Edge, we're seeing a translation over from the Kylo Ren characters to the Mandalorian. We're seeing a whole time shift. And, we were remarking that, things in the Mandalorian series are now starting to mirror the look at Galaxy's Edge. So it's like,
Yeah.
are they making a creative shift at Disney to try to get themselves more away from the sequel era and into the more of the sweet spot of Star Wars, and try and hope to get the fan base back on board?
Well, I can't say that even if this Star Cruiser was set firmly in the original trilogy, I would have paid
No,
to do it.
no.
It's just but making it sequel pretty much guaranteed its failure. And like and you're right, they are pivoting a little bit in Galaxy's Edge and going back to the just after Return of the Jedi time frame. And that seems to be working quite well for them. But I just don't know. I don't of course, you don't need us to there's 100 people or thousands of people on YouTube who are dunking on Kathleen Kennedy daily.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that is not unwarranted, because some of the decisions that are being made at the highest level are completely to just seem counterintuitive. Hey, guess what, everybody? We're making a Rey movie.
What's
Set
interesting?
after episode 9.
What's interesting? There's a lot of companies out there. You'll hear that they have brought like celebrities in to be like their CF, their creative officer. They're like CCO, which is, like a kind of like an honorary title. They bring a celebrity in to help us with our creative direction. And they give them a title. And, it seems that Star Wars at Disney does not have the right representation like a Dave Filoni. Like, you have like Dave Filoni in a great spot making good stuff, some hit or miss, but I think he's really, a true spirit of Star Wars. But you need somebody in that position that is a believer and a fan themselves, and not just a corporate suit that is looking for a way to make money. Because this is a perfect example of not listening to a fan base, and you're expecting the fan base that now has disposable income to go along with whatever you want them to do. And this fan base is notorious for hating on Star Wars. It's a funny thing, right? There's no one worse than a Star Wars fan, with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you're now expecting that middle-aged Star Wars fan that grew up with it, like us, to just walk along blindly and go with everything that you hand us. And you know what? It can't happen that way. And this is where Disney, if they're going to retain the property and make it something special and keep it going forward for almost another, it's been around for almost 50 years.
Mhm.
Can they make a full century out of this, property? Can they do it right? And they're going to have to make the decision soon and put it in a direction that makes sense if they're going to maintain it. Because we can't go along with everything. And I'm not hating on Star Wars or the new Star Wars. There's some stuff that they've put out that I really like. But if you're expecting me to spend my money on Star Wars, then it better really, be worth my time as a fan to spend that money.
Yeah. And I mean, it does seem that things are happening to maybe suggest there is some sort of reckoning coming, or it's in the works, or it just seems like I will admit I'm very surprised they called it after a year on the Galactic Starcruiser.
Well, that's very telling.
I think they are really looking at things and saying, okay, like for example, Lucasfilm, of course, the only other thing they had going on was Indiana Jones and Willow quite famously crashed and burned, and they are removing it from Disney Plus, so they don't have to pay the actors residuals on it anymore, because it was such a trash fire that they were like, okay, you're out of here. And they're doing this across Disney Plus in general. One show that I was shocked to see them getting rid of was The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Oh no, is that going away?
It's going away, or it's already gone.
That's a great show.
That was a gem. I mean,
oh man, so they're taking it completely off. You can't even watch like the old season?
No, it's gone. Man. And because they still have to pay for this stuff, even if it's on their service. So
if you guys, if you're listening and you did not get a chance to watch The World According to Jeff Goldblum, you missed out. And I recommend that you search out the interwebs and find bits and pieces of it, because that man is a national treasure talking about denim and coffee. The weirdness was infectiously great.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very fun show to watch, and it is a shame. But like the on the Lucasfilm side, it's Willow is now toast completely.
Was the movie Willow itself taken off too? Or is that still...
No, I don't think they took Willow down, but the show they did.
Thank God.
Maybe it's better that's resigned to the dustbin of history. And it just goes to show that, maybe, if the right people aren't doing it, then some of these legacies sequels just need to, it's just better to live in the past. I don't think that seeing that turd of a TV show is going to dampen my enjoyment of Willow the movie. No. When I watch it in the future, I mean, I won't even think about that thing. But it's just unfortunate that it turned out the way it did. So, but I think this line of discussion can sort of dovetail neatly into what we're going to talk about next. And that is that a few weeks ago, as it is measured in the old calendar, Dial of Destiny, the latest Indiana Jones film, was shown at the Cannes Film Festival. And it was basically released upon the world at that time. And in just hours afterwards, people started to talk about it. Now, initially, I saw a lot of positive reviews, but those have sort of been overshadowed in recent weeks by the negative reviews. And now the film sets, a month before its release, it sets as rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. And you have to wonder, like, why that? Why did they do this? I mean, to this Indiana Jones 5 is a movie that they needed a win. They needed something to go their way. And it really looks like now, of course, the public hasn't seen it. Box office is not in yet, but this cannot be the response that they were hoping for when they showed this movie a month early.
I mean, it's no secret that on this podcast I've said that Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite movie of all time.
Yes.
And I hold this franchise very close to my heart, and I really, really do enjoy the first three movies tremendously. I think they're just amazing, amazing movies.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones 4 was a turd bucket that had very little redeeming qualities to it. Some, but not many. And it really felt that that movie was made just to make it and phone it in and just to kind of get another Indiana Jones on the books. So but I'll tell you what it did though. Indiana Jones 4 has tempered my expectations for Indiana Jones 5. And, where I had high hopes for Indiana Jones 4, I never have had high hopes for Indiana Jones 5. Here's what I do hope for. I hope that it's true to Indiana Jones. And I hope that he's represented well and that I don't feel that his character is phoning it in like I felt it was in the fourth movie. And I hope they come to a good end with it. Now, if they can craft a good movie around that, I'll be very excited. But I hope to get some kind of closure for Indiana Jones from this movie where I can walk away and go, I'm okay with how this ended. And I can walk away and I'll be like, this is how it ended. But if it's just as you said, a trash fire, a dumpster fire of a movie, I'm going to be very upset because, I still don't really consider the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as part of the movie franchise anyway. Just I've never revisited it. I don't care to. I've watched the other three movies, several times over since that movie came out. But I want something good to end with. I don't need a great movie. I just want a good movie.
That's fair. And unlike you, I've softened on the Crystal Skull in the years since. I don't for me it is about, because I think Harrison Ford, I'm never going to root against Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And I think in Crystal Skull, he's older, obviously, but I don't feel like he's phoning it in. I think he's the best part of the movie. The movie has problems, 100%. I'm not, I think the shift to aliens was weird, and I'm not really sure. Of course, Shia LaBeouf and the monkeys, and Shia is not back. I mean, that's been confirmed for this. I'm interested to see the fate of Mutt, but as you say, we've already gotten Crystal Skull, so we know what the potential is. If it can rise above that, then I think I will consider it a win.
Yeah. It's interesting when you look at the first three movies, they used a lot of practical effects and they used a lot of in-camera stuff, and they used a lot of miniature work, which was not, it's used throughout the 80s, 70s and 80s. So it kind of fit with the era. And when you watch it, it doesn't feel out of place. It might look a little wonky, but it's not out of place.
Yeah.
And the Crystal Skull happened to fall into that period of time where, it fell into the Star Wars problem, where the CGI was getting better, but not great. And they really leaned heavy into it. And it never looked great. It just never looked great. And, jump ahead. I mean, Crystal Skull was what, 10, 12 years ago?
15.
It's unbelievable. Now we're at a point where deep fake is excellent, where CGI is almost indistinguishable from real life. So I think that the effects are going to look pretty great. And from the deep fake that we've seen on the trailer, I mean, he looks amazing.
Sure.
And the lessons they learned through The Mandalorian and, all that, the Luke Skywalker mishap.
Yeah.
I think that by the time this was made, I think that they had probably gotten the best deepfake that they could probably get their hands on. And the trailer looks amazing. He looks like he's 45 years old in that.
Well, yeah, by all accounts, the first 25 minutes of the movie are, James Mangold has said, the director, that, he wanted to give people one more mini Indy movie where Indy was in his prime. And, if they pull that off, then yeah, I mean.
So I haven't read any reviews in depth about the movie. So are there any specific complaints we're getting from the movie yet?
Well,
or is it just a general malaise of like, this isn't good?
Well, it's, the most reviews I've read have been, pretty nuanced. Harrison Ford usually gets, accolades. But it does mention that some of the direction sort of lacks Spielberg he just has a touch with some of that stuff. And they did say that perhaps some of that was missing. But like Mangold is a great director, but when Spielberg is firing on all cylinders, he's like superhuman. So some of the reviews have called that out. One of my misgivings, and this is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, because it seems to me now we have a female mutt in the mix, and I listen, and I am certainly no woman hating weirdo here, because the Indiana Jones films have always had a great female lead.
Absolutely.
Karen Allen, Kate Capshaw, you could debate. I think
Kate Capshaw, people hate on her, but I actually really enjoy her in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, our buddy Mike. Oh,
I know,
but he cannot take it.
I think it's great. I think she's great because I love how annoyed like Indiana Jones,
his reaction to her.
It's like, I loved it. I loved it.
And then, of course, you have Allison Doody, who
fantastic,
man,
fantastic,
crush on her for ages.
Fantastic.
And she's only like 10 years older than us.
Really?
She's not.
Man.
Yeah.
She was so good in that. So good.
And of course, Karen Allen came back for part 4.
So real quick, talking about Karen Allen part 4, when she was revealed in that movie where she came out of the tent smiling, I hated it because I'm like, she's supposed to be like almost like a prisoner, and she came out like all happy and like with her hands on her hips, like, oh, Indiana Jones. I'm thinking, God damn it, this is crap. Like, this is the first time he sees her, and this is how she acts and how he acts. It pissed me off. So this is the kind of creative direction I'm hoping not to see in this next movie.
Okay. Well, see, I don't agree with you on that.
Damn.
I like her and I like them.
I do too. I like them together. But I hated how she's like, it's almost like, it's like the audience, that it has that pause where like they expect the audience to go like, woohoo, and like have that like movie pause to get rid of the applause before they talk.
Sure. The applause pause.
Yeah. So it's like,
well, okay. Crap. So, I know that Phoebe Waller-Bridge has her fans. I would not count myself among them. Everybody's like, "Oh man, Fleabag is so great." That's like her big show.
She was Rogue One robot, right?
She was she was in Solo.
Solo, that's what it was. I'm sorry, Solo. Yeah,
probably my least favorite part of that movie. I just, I watched one episode. I watched one episode of Fleabag, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't for me. I
don't think I've seen
know.
her anything with her in it, to be quite honest.
Okay.
Except
Well,
just her voice in Solo.
I did. There is a Disney Plus, because all the indie movies just dropped on Disney Plus, along with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there is a 5-minute little Dial of Destiny thing on there. I watched it yesterday, and there's not a whole lot of Dial of Destiny. It's a lot of like Spielberg and Mangold being interviewed talking about how great Harrison is.
Mm-hmm.
But then they show a scene from Dial of Destiny at the end of this particular first look. And first thing I noticed right off the bat, John Williams, just with some more great indie chase music. And it's just instantly, it's similar to what we've heard before, but it's not the same, but it's still John Williams. And I was like, that sounds great. And then it's things we've seen in the trailer. They're on those little taxis, those 3-wheeled taxis. You see Indy jumping around.
Yeah.
Well, this scene takes place on those taxis. Indy is driving one, and then her name is Helena in the movie. She's driving one, and they're obviously being chased and shot at. And first thing I noticed, Matt, you're going to be pissed. Some green screen there, not great. Some not great green screen. And I was like, oh man.
Well, maybe by the time,
and then
maybe they fixed it by now. I
don't know. And then Indy and Helena have this back and forth that is now, in fairness, it is very sort of Indiana Jones-ish dialogue, but it made me hate her even more.
This movie might not be for you, man.
And I was like,
I think there's a lot of her in this movie.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt about it. But there were other things about it I liked. Like some of the shots, obviously not green screen. And there was a lot of crazy stuff happening. So, I got to say, and I know there's a whole contingent of people out there already, because of their hatred of Kathleen Kennedy and what Lucasfilm is now, they're rooting for it to fail. I will not root for this movie to fail.
I have to have faith in it.
Listen, I am always, like I said, I'm always going to root for Harrison Ford. I like Harrison Ford. Indiana Jones is my favorite fictional character of all time. There's no way I'm not going to see this. And, I think what I'm going to walk away from this movie, I think there's going to be some great stuff. I think it's I think it's going to wrap things up for Indiana Jones, because Harrison Ford said, yeah, I'm done. This is it. I'm 80 years old. It has to be done. So whatever they give me is just what I'm going to have to live with as an Indiana Jones fan. But there's a part of me that's just like, why is part of me dreading going to see this movie? And that's crazy that's sort of where we are now.
The funny thing is that the first 3 Indiana Jones movies certainly were replete with green screen. I mean, there's tons of it.
Oh, there's some really wonky stuff in those first 3.
Completely. So I mean,
if you look at the cart chase in Temple of Doom, none of that stuff looks real. None of it.
Even when he's walking across the Leap of Faith bridge and stuff, it's just all. It's
yeah,
really,
it is. It is.
So I mean, but in the 40 years that we've been watching Indiana Jones, almost 50 years now, have we as a fan become so spoiled with movies that these things irritate us now, where they didn't irritate us in the past? And I think you have to really be a lover of this franchise to go into it, and just want to see Indiana Jones one last time. And look, I mean, I guess when it comes down to it, reservations about the quality of the movie or the story aside, how lucky are we that at 48 years old, I get to see Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones one last time? I mean,
Yeah.
I saw him when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
6 years old. And I've been watching this movie my whole life. And to your point, he's my favorite fictional character as well. And that's my favorite movie. And it's like, I get to see Indiana Jones again. And that's kind of cool. And it's unbelievable. I mean, we have had a resurgence of our childhood properties come back to life in the past couple of years. And it's just we're lucky that we get this stuff. Now, we're spoiled because they're dear to our heart. And if you have never seen these movies before, it probably is going to be something that you really lean into and nitpick on, because it probably won't be the best movie ever. And if you don't love the character, you probably won't love the movie. So, we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm hoping for something strong to end with. I hope we can see a good end for Indiana Jones, that he can walk into the sunset and I can not expect to see him again, and I'm okay with it. But, we'll wait and see. Mangold is a talented director.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing, Mangold, I don't think he has a stinker on his resume. I gotta say real quick, I'm sorry. It's like everyone reviewing this movie, by the way, is probably a millennial or a lot younger that didn't grow up with it dear to their heart too. And I can appreciate people that are, straight movie reviewers and they look at it from different angles and stuff. But like, you have to love this property. And if you don't love the property, you probably aren't going to look at these as great movies. They're definitely not, to your point, a Steven Spielberg movie. They're not like, they're not going to be crown jewels. But, I'm not hoping for crown jewels. I'm just kind of hoping for, an old crown that he can wear and ride a horse off into the sunset and be okay with. And I'm hoping his pants aren't as baggy as the Crystal Skull. Oh, man. I remember you and those Crystal Skull pants. You had such a You're like, why is it pulled up to his breasts?
Sternum. They're the biggest pants I've ever seen anybody wear in my life. They're like clown pants.
Yeah, I don't know.
The wind resistance of those pants alone would probably be counterproductive to getting away or running away. But
man,
anyways, I mean, this comes out and as we record this now, comes out in 29 days, and I will be there. The only thing I asked for my birthday for my wife was to go see this movie, and to carve some time out away from the kids so I can go see it by my. She's like, let's bring the kids. I said, we're not bringing the kids.
No.
He's like, well, why not? I said, because I've never seen the movie. They don't know what Indiana Jones is. I said, I'm going by myself.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'll go with you. I'm like, you can go with me if you don't talk. But I'm going to see this movie.
Yeah.
And, it's important to me to see this movie. So
yeah. Terry's going with me. We've got a little crew together. Actually our pal Brian is in town on vacation, and he is going to be there with me.
Nice.
As well.
We have to do are you on opening night?
Yeah. I'm going that Thursday, the 29th.
I go see it then too. So we have to do a good podcast after that and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know Mike has sworn off Star Wars. I don't know if he's sworn off Indy yet. So we'll have to see. But
speaking of Indiana Jones, we will be doing our own Indiana Jones retrospective on this podcast very soon. And,
yes.
And I'm looking forward to that immensely. I cannot wait to deep dive and talk about this stuff.
Well, we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff because season 7 is here and we are rolling on. We're rolling strong. We may not all the time always all be together, but we're going to keep hitting those podcatchers as much as we can, because we know that you need this stuff. You need what we are bringing to you, denizens of the 25th century. So, Matt, we're going to wrap this up, and we'll get together after Indiana Jones and figure out kind of where we're at. So
let's do it. Let's crack that whip.
Let's do it. And thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.